News on the Hour.
Centre at 6. The current financial crisis facing Britain could be the most serious ever. That's the view of the Bank of England Governor Sir Mervyn King, who's been defending the decision to pump more money into the economy. The policy of what's called quantitative easing has been extended by £75 billion. Sir Mervyn admits he can't be sure the previous round of QE has worked.
We're doing it because there's not enough money in the economy. Now, that may seem unfamiliar to people, but it is unfamiliar. That's because this is the most serious financial crisis we've seen, at least since the 1930s, if not ever.
Wayne Rooney's dad and uncle have been bailed after being questioned by police investigating suspicious football betting patterns. 9 men were detained at addresses across Merseyside and Glasgow. Ken Clarke says he now regrets the colourful language he used to describe the Home Secretary in an interview. The Justice Secretary accused Theresa May of using laughable and childlike examples to criticise the Human Rights Act. The trial of Michael Jackson's doctor is hearing evidence from Melissa Fleek, an investigator with LA County Coroner's Office. She visited the Jackson home to collect items which have all been shown in court. She told the court that Dr. Murray, who denies involuntary manslaughter, was ordered to send her the singer's medical records.
Did any of the records provided pertain to the events surrounding June 25th, 2009, and the care provided, let's say, April, May, June of 2009?
No. All of the records were dated prior to that.
World leaders, business leaders and fans have been paying tribute to the co-founder of Apple, Steve Jobs, who has died at the age of 56. He helped turn a company into the firm that revolutionised consumer technology. And Annie Lennox will receive a Lifetime Achievement Gong at the Inspiration Awards for Women tomorrow. The singer will be recognised for her music career and her years of campaigning for humanitarian causes. That's the latest. I'm Kelly Withers.
The international news on the hour, brought to you by Yuska Bank, Gibraltar. For all your investments and banking needs, go online, yuskabank.gi, or visit us at 76 Main Street, Gibraltar.
Hey, Dave, what you doing? Watch it, Pete. Just locking up the house for the night. Better to be safe than sorry, mate.
Yeah, but Dave, that's all very well. Home security is one thing, but you still need home insurance too.
Don't take shortcuts. Trying to save money is all well and good, but you still need the right home cover. For comprehensive and competitive insurance for your home and contents, insist on Liberty Seguros, the expat's preferred insurer. Go online to libertyseguros.es/expatriates/en to find the name of your nearest broker today. Liberty Seguros, because you never know.
Lanish are purveyors of quality new and used furniture. Tables, chairs, quality beds, sofas and patio furniture. Lanish buy and sell good quality used furniture at realistic prices and aim to turn over the stock as quickly as possible. So if they don't have what you're looking for, then leave your details and they will endeavour to find it for you. If you're based between Fengarola and Sotogrande and are looking to buy or sell furniture, call Lanish on 952 765 564. That's 952 765 564. Or pop into Lanish on the Golden Mile, Marbella, and you'll walk away smiling.
Had enough of sky-high flight prices to the UK? Then visit monarch.co.uk, where we're bringing them safely back down to ground. Book online now and save an extra €12 on all return flights to the UK. Just type in code FLYUK and get an extra €12 off all return flights, all routes and all dates. Now that really is the perfect takeoff. So visit monarch.co.uk today. That's monarch.co.uk. Conditions apply.
From Malaga to Calahonda on 88.9, this is Talk Radio Europe, your voice in Spain. Tonight with Lisa Grant.
Well, a very good evening to you and welcome to the show. Yes, I'm Lisa Grant with you through until 10 o'clock tonight. And as ever, we have a packed show. Well, Jonathan is going to be back with me this evening and we're talking about the whole quantitative easing situation. And from the comments he sent me through on email this afternoon, he's got quite a lot to say about it. If you missed the interview with him last night, I did actually say to him, I'll speak to you next week. But with this happening today, had to get him back in to hear what he has to say. And of course, as with what happened last night, if you've got any questions, please do ring in during the course of the interview and you can put them to him directly. 951 036 026. That's 951 036026. In the next hour of the show, I'll be talking to Miguel Mirando, who's a Spanish journalist who's popped into the show every so often. We're going to be talking about the fact that in the last month, there was a huge jump in unemployment in Spain, and they're actually saying it's one of the worst months on record. We'll be talking about why that has happened and what on earth the government could be doing about it. And then in the last hour of the show, I'm afraid I'm going to be looking forward to Christmas. Well, it is the second week of October, isn't it? I'm going to be talking to Paul Allen about how to spot fakes when it comes to you buying computer gadgets online and in shops. And I'll also be asking him what's the hot things that you need to look out for this Christmas, because believe it or not, they will start selling out this early on. We'll also have the forum, and I'll tell you the details of that in just a couple of minutes' time. Headlines from home and away, and of course, I'll be dipping into the papers and picking out stories to talk about too. As ever, if you have something to say about the forum or anything else you hear about, I'll give you that number again, 951 036026, or email studio@talkradioeurope.com. Get in touch and get involved.
Lisa Grant, tonight on Talk Radio Europe.
Of course, Genesis and In the Air tonight on Talk Radio Europe, Your Voice in Spain. I can't actually hear that track anymore without thinking of that guy dressed up as a gorilla for the Dairy Milk advert, doing that drum riff with all his might. It's kind of ruined it a little bit, hasn't it? But hey, still a classic track. I'm going to give you the details of the forum this evening, and I'd like your stories about problems you've had with airlines. Now, I'm not asking you to ring in and give me the name of the airline. Not interested in that. I just want to hear about the problems that you have had. Okay? So, the reason I'm bringing this up is because there was a landmark ruling today that means that the airline industry will be forced to pay for their carbon emissions on all flights to and from, as well as within Europe. That's absolutely brilliant. Airlines can be charged for their greenhouse emissions on flights to and from Europe, according to a landmark ruling, as I've said. The initiative ruling by the Advocate General of the European Court of Justice is a blow to airlines and non-European governments that had hoped to escape from the extension of the European Union's emission trading scheme to cover air transport from next year. It was greeted with jubilation by environmental campaigners who want to ensure that emissions from aviation are subject to the same controls as those of other industries. If the ruling is definitely followed, airlines will be forced from next year to pay for their carbon emissions on all flights, as I say, to and from UK and in and around Europe as well. So, got me thinking, airlines. There's a whole set of programmes, isn't there, about the problems and issues that people have faced. I'd like to hear about the problems that you've come across. As I've said, I'm not interested in the name of the company, don't want to know. I just want to hear about the problems that you've had, because all the airlines have said that they move very, very fast towards getting better customer service, improving things in our, day-to-day travel. But it seems to me like the complaints never ever stop. So that's what I want to hear about from you. Not the company names, but the problems that you have come across. That's the forum for tonight, all the way through until 10 o'clock this evening on 951 036 026. That's 951 036 026. Or email studio@talkradioeurope.com. That's your forum subject for tonight. Let me know, and let's see if we can get the calls coming in.
Yes, I like the sea, the sun, the beach, and even the siesta. But I'm not a tourist.
If you are British and settled in Spain, at Banco Sabadell you will find a tailor-made service with professionals who will attend to you in your own language. Because we are the bank in Spain which best understands you. Ask at any of our branches.
Sabadell, chosen by the best in business and by people like you.
If every time we turn on the TV or radio someone's out there advertising home insurance, how are we supposed to know which company is best for us? Well, the key to choosing the right product is in the extras. So it's important to look for an insurer that gives you more for your money, such as Reale Seguros. The name may be new to you, but this 200-year-old insurer really does give customers that bit more. For example, with its expat home policy, not only are you covered for damages caused by extreme weather conditions such as heavy rains, but you can also request assistance to locate and repair leaky pipes before they cause any actual detriment to your home. What's more, Reale actually gets repairs and claims started within 24 hours. Because if they don't, they actually give you your money back. There's no mañana attitude at Reale Seguros. So why not give them a call on 902 103 551 and get an instant quote and the name of the broker that's closest to you. Reale Seguros, the company that provides real quality, real service, real prices, real solutions, and real peace of mind. Reale, insurance for the real world.
Go all in at StanJames.com. Their mobile betting makes it easier than ever before. Visit StanJames.com on your iPhone or Android handset for instant sports betting. And the in-play platform lets you watch live sports, including all UK horse racing, streamed direct to your computer. Bet with StanJames.com now and receive up to £150 in free bets when you join. It's the quickest, easiest sports betting and online gaming site, offering the best promotions and the best odds. Register at the casino, participate in weekly competitions, and get £100 in bonuses. Terms and conditions apply. Go all in at StanJames.com.
Are you over 50? Would you like your near and far vision to be as good as ever again? Now, after a simple operation using intraocular lenses or laser, you can get your best vision back at any distance. Come and get all the information at Vista Laser Ophthalmology in Malaga or Marbella. Call 952 060 523, 952 060 523, or go online to vistalaser.es.
Tonight with Lisa Grant.
Welcome back. And on the phone, waiting for me, I have Jonathan Davis. Good evening, Jonathan.
Hi, Lisa.
That was a very quick week, wasn't it?
Time goes quickly when you're having fun.
Now, I'm sure a lot of people tuned into your interview last week. And the reason we're saying that is because the last thing I said to you was, I'll speak to you next week. But when I saw the headlines today about the fact that the Bank of England is going to inject $75 billion into the economy in a bid to kickstart recovery as interest rates are held at a record low again, I thought there's only one person who could talk about this.
Well, that's very good of you. And no doubt there will be a lot of people cheering right now and saying, we're saved, we're saved. It's like a Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
In fact, nothing could be further from the truth. Shall I go on?
Please do.
Well, you know, I wrote to clients and I said this, let's put it all into context. 2 years ago, when those people said they saved the world, what they did, amongst other things, was print 3 times what has been printed or is going to be printed as of today. They also simultaneously slashed UK interest rates from 5% to 0.5%. There's no change in interest rates today. They also massively bailed out huge failed bankrupt banks, not today. And also what's happening just now is that there are mild public sector cuts going on, whereas in 2009 into 2010 there was actually a beefing up of the public sector in advance of the election. Thus, whatever they're doing as of today is a tiny, tiny amount compared to a couple of years ago.
Absolutely.
In other words, it's not going to have a blind bit of effect.
It's basically a drop in the ocean, isn't it? I actually got your email that you've just mentioned, and you also made a very good point, which did cross my mind, which was last time banks were going bust, but this time countries are going bust.
Well, exactly. 2008, it was a global banking crisis, is what they called it. And 2010 and 2011, it appears to be what they call a sovereign debt, in other words, a country crisis. Actually, what I've been trying to get the message out is that there's actually no difference, because ultimately, the countries were as indebted a couple of years ago as they are now. What we still have is a global banking crisis because over years and decades, they have loaned more and more and more to households, businesses and governments, which will never be repaid. In other words, the debts of the likes of Greece and Spain and Italy and Portugal and, of course, Ireland recently, the banks will have to take massive losses. We have a global banking crisis which continues. This £75 billion is not to help the economy. It's to give more time to the banks to sort themselves out. The thing is, the problem is so massive, there's no way they can sort themselves out.
I will say one thing from the articles that I've seen in the papers today. The papers are being very careful about jumping up and down and doing a ticker-tape parade. But I would have thought, give it 24 hours or even give it less than that, the people at the top are going to be patting themselves on the back and saying, oh, aren't we fabulous, look what we've done, and trying to delude people into thinking that this is going to fix things. Because let's face it, the people who are in the hierarchy, we're supposed to follow their lead because they're supposed to know what they're talking about.
Absolutely, and you have to take note of when Gordon Brown and Ed Balls and Alistair Darling, when they did the massive bailing out and the money printing a couple of years ago. And incidentally, people might be saying, well, was it the Bank of England? Well, I just don't believe it's an independent Bank of England, so I'll just cover that point. George Osborne, who was then the Chancellor, the Shadow Chancellor, beg your pardon, he derided what was happening. He said, this is the result of a failed government management of the economy. And there he is, 2 years later, and he's doing the exact same thing himself. In other words, the politicians do whatever they need to do to save their own skins, because they know, in this case, they know that the the global banking situation, the global economy is so dire, it is all going to go to kaput. Please, people should know, I don't want it to happen. This is simply my analysis.
Sure.
And all the politicians continue to do is try and put it off so it doesn't happen on my watch, Governor.
Now, you made a note, you sort of let me know to have a look at what happened with the sterling as far as what it happened the minute that this announcement was made. It went through the floor, didn't it? It went through the floor, so people must have been sitting there going, oh, goody, goody, we're going to get all this extra money. Hang on a minute. What on earth?
Well, it's a simple arithmetic calculation. When you create more of something, it becomes less valuable because it's less rare. So gold is valuable because it's rare, whereas, I don't know, my phone that I'm looking at is less valuable as gold because there's more of it.
Sure.
There's more of them than there are gold. Similarly, exactly the same with currencies, whether it's euros or dollars or pounds or whatever. When you suddenly print a whole load more of them, then all of a sudden it's less rare, which means that it devalues. And in other words, you look at the screens against the euro. Immediately, and I mean immediately, the pound went from about 116 to about 114.5 against the euro. And I would just say, and that was replicated against all major currencies, against the US dollar, for example, also. It immediately, just getting the chart, yes, immediately went from about 155 to about 153, just like that.
Just like that.
Now, what I would say to you is, sterling is being hammered, and it will continue to be hammered. So I'm afraid the people who are living off their sterling pensions, they're going to have some problems. However, on the brighter side, if this is how you'd characterise it, the euro has got even bigger problems. So even on the short-term, pound was sold off against the euro. I still actually think that the euro is toast. That's a technical term. So over the next year or so, I think the euro is absolutely going to collapse. So maybe sterling will hold its own. I would just say, though, against generally the cost of living, practically every currency on earth is going down against the things that we need, like fuel and food and heat and light, etc.
Well, I've just seen a headline that's just popped up, and it said the Bank of England Governor, Sir Mervyn King, says inflation is likely to rise above 5%. What kind of effect is that going to have?
Yeah. So you're quoting Benny Hill there. Who has been saying for the last 2.5 years that we've had 0.5% interest rate, that the Monetary Policy Committee's projections for 2 years hence, in other words, every quarter of the last 2.5 years, they've been saying inflation's coming down. What's actually happened to inflation? It's continued to go up. Just last week, he said inflation's coming down. All of a sudden, you're
it's going back up again.
Exactly. Simply because they printed all this money. Well, there are strong deflationary forces. They're not nice ones, such as falling stock market, higher unemployment, falling house prices, and so on. These are major deflationary forces, and unless you retain your income, whether it's earned or whatever, if you lose your employment, for example, well, whether it's lower cost of living or not, you're in great difficulty.
Sure.
But now there's even probably stronger inflationary forces, which it ultimately is not going to help the economy, because it's going to suck in higher costs of living, which means people are going to have less to spend. It's going to suck in higher costs of running businesses, which means that businesses are going to have to raise their prices. What does that mean? It means that along with the fact people have got less to spend, there will be less and less goods and services purchased. In other words, the employers will realise we don't need as many people.
Sure.
So what does that mean?
Higher unemployment.
Inflation does not help.
No.
This money printing will not help. It compounds an already massive problem. When will they get that into their heads?
Maybe you should start a little march outside the Bank of England with a megaphone.
Yeah.
Maybe they would actually listen. I'm curious to know: is this actually going to have? Is this actually going to have a knock-on effect to the rest of Europe, or is it just going to be, as you say, just a blip? But do you think it will have a knock-on effect?
I think actually it's hiding the true reason behind the money printing. I think, in fact, the money printing is getting ready to put together for, in line with the European Central Bank and the Germans and the Americans, I think they're actually building a bailout fund for the likes of Greece.
Right.
That's what it is. And as I've said on your show in the past, it's not actually about bailing out countries. It's about bailing out the lenders to those countries, because at the moment the lenders know that the Greek taxpayers simply can't afford to pay back the debts. So what they're doing, they're printing more money in order to create new debts so that the old debts can be paid off and the new debts are now covered by the taxpayers not of Greece but of Germany, United States and United Kingdom, for example. That's what I think this is actually about. And again, it's a short-term elastoplast on major organ failure.
I've got to ask the question, okay? People reading the papers will go, "Oh, lovely, lots of lovely money." Where is it really going to go? I mean, you've just said that you think that they're, putting together a bailout plan for Greece, but all the papers are saying it's to boost the economy, it'll help the economy. How much of this money do you think is actually going to stay in the UK, or do you think it's just going to be dished out everywhere?
Yeah. Ostensibly, they're saying some or much of this new fund is to go to small and medium-sized businesses in the UK. In other words, to increase the loans to such businesses in the UK. Well, it may well happen. But the simple reason why the banks aren't lending to those companies already is because the banks know that everything I've been saying about the economy being dire is absolutely true. So why would a banker lend money to a business knowing full well that the business isn't going to have any sales going forward? Thus, they're not going to get the money back.
Yeah.
So even if money does get loaned to small and medium-sized businesses, I'm telling you, it's throwing good money after bad. You wouldn't lend money to someone unless you were absolutely sure it's going to come back to you.
Absolutely.
That's what sound banking is, and that's why I'm saying what we don't have is sound banking. That's why we're in the mess we're in.
Hold on, Jonathan. We're just going to go to a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Brand new to Saturday nights, the Big Night In, live radio for Saturday nights with me, Dave Hodgson. Every Saturday we'll be guessing the year, looking at funny stories of the week, Saturday sports roundup, and of course, great music for your Saturday night. Tune in this week for the Big Night In on Talk Radio Europe with myself, Dave Hodgson. It starts at 8.
You hear 'em, Dave? Gee, they can talk about shopping the whole day.
Yeah, not like us. I had a really worthwhile conversation today. I saved a month on my new car insurance with Linea Directa.
Really? Tell me more.
All in English, mate. 24-hour road assistance, fine handling service, and much more.
Call Linea Directa now on 902 123 221. 1 month free for new customers. Discover Linea Directa's unbeatable new home insurance. Call 902 123 221 and start saving now.
If they tell you that you can wear the latest styles with an Offerton at Hypercore for only €99.99, that's great.
But if you also know that the Offerton includes a suit, plus a shirt, plus a tie, that's hyper great, isn't it?
Like knowing that through the 12th of October, when you buy 2 of any of thousands of products, the second is 50% off.
Hypercore, there's no better price.
Do you need a website? At Readinet Multimedia, our professional team is waiting to help your business succeed. Contact Readinet on 952 888 999 or visit our office in Diana Park Centre between Marbella and Estepona, or visit us online at www.designbythebest.com.
And quote Talk Radio Europe and receive a 10% discount.
Have your website designed by the best. Readinet.
Want a bank with no bonus scheme?
At Yuska Bank Gibraltar, there are no bonus schemes for our advisors. This means that they only have your best interests at heart. You will get a direct email and phone number of your personal and individual investment advisor. So no call centres or button options, just a quick response from your advisor. Visit Yuska Bank Gibraltar at 76 Main Street or give us a call on Gibraltar 606 55544 or go online to yuskabank.gi.
Get your daily fresh bread at the new home bake section within the Passion Cafe San Pedro. The bakery supplies a fantastic selection of homemade breads, fresh cookies, children's birthday cakes, pastries, lemon meringue pie, black forest gatto, to eat in or take away. All this at the bakery in the Passion Cafe, which continues to serve up delicious wraps, salads, chili, langoustine skewer and Argentinian ribeye. Open and serving food 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. Passion Cafe, La Colonia Commercial Centre, San Pedro de Alcantara. The cool place to be. 952-781-583.
From Marbella to Gibraltar on 91.9, this is Talk Radio Europe, your voice in Spain. Tonight with Lisa Grant.
Welcome back, and we're still in conversation with Jonathan Davis. Jonathan, I've got to ask you, can we ever actually expect for the right decisions to be made to get us out of this mire? Or are the people in high places just going to carry on scrambling around in the dark, using us as, quite honestly, test tube dummies? You know, we're being used as experiments. Well, let's see if this works. Let's see if that works. Can we ever expect them to come up with a definitive plan to get it right?
Winston Churchill once said of the Americans, although I think actually it can relate to any Western democracy, they make the right decisions after trying all the wrong ones. My point being that we're run by politicians who do not have a long-term focus, like you and me. What we're trying to do is develop our retirement strategy. Ultimately, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get our kids through school, university, and then on, and we are trying to secure our retirement. In other words, we're looking 20, 30 years hence.
Sure.
Politicians always look 4 or 5 years hence. Thus, they always take the short-term. It's not a solution. What it is elastoplast. And the other thing is that practically every politician or banker or economist uses, as it were, what's called the Keynesian School of Economics, which is John Maynard Keynes from the 1930s, which essentially says that when there's a downturn, the government must step in and support. And that is, of course, what they've been doing. The thing is, what they don't, the people in power, what they don't say is what Keynes actually then added to that sentence.
Yeah.
And I'm not a Keynesian, and yet I'm going to tell you what Keynes actually said. The government should step in to support while the markets allow. And that's the reason why countries are going bankrupt, because the markets now realize that they've loaned too much. The markets no longer allow it. So eventually you'll find the politicians actually are not in charge.
Yeah.
It's the markets. In other words, the banks who rule the roost.
Can you then say that politicians are actually what we thought they were, which is not human, and they just don't, the same rules don't apply? And I'm not just talking about the politicians in the UK, I'm talking about politicians around the world. They do seem to live in like a cloud cuckoo land. And as you quite rightly say, they only go down to 3 or 5 years, when the rest of us are looking at a life plan. Maybe if they actually started looking at a life plan, things would be better.
You know it, and I know it, and every one of your listeners knows it. But think about it. In 2009, the group of top 20 countries got together, and we're talking about the bulk of the global economy in those 20 countries, and as a group, to a country, they all borrowed vast amounts of money and bailed out the banking system. Think about that. They all did it. They all taxed, ultimately, the people to kingdom come in order to save a defunct economic system. And they did it because many of them had elections due soon.
Sure.
And the last thing they needed, particularly the likes of Gordon Brown, we're talking about spring 2009, he knew he had an election within about 12 or 14 months from that point. In other words, there was no way, from a political point of view, he could allow an absolute, utter collapse in the UK in 2009. And sure enough, even though he was not particularly liked in the UK and wholly unmarketable, he didn't actually massively lose the election. And that shows you all they do is buy votes, whichever country it is.
When you think about a governmental office, I'm making an assumption here. There must be economists who actually work for the government directly. There must be there must be advisors who bend politicians' ears, and somewhere along the line there must be somebody like you who at some point said, if you do this, it's going to result in this, so I would advise you not to do this. Do they just ignore the advice they get?
I would actually argue that there probably isn't anyone in a position of influence who comes from anything other the Keynesian school of economics. I come from the Austrian school of economics, which is where the founding fathers, Hayek and von Mises, came from in the 1930s, getting out before the Nazis came in, who basically say, the Keynesians say that you can run lots of computer programs, you can put in lots of formulae, and if you put in X, Y, and Z, this is what's going to happen. Do you know what? They've been wrong for as long as I can remember. Whereas the Austrian school says, do you know what? There's 1 trillion decisions made by real people every single day.
Yeah,
you
sure.
cannot plan an economy through mathematics. And actually, the point is, even if an Austrian economist did say that, and said, look, if you bail out these banks, all it is elastoplast. You need to stop bailing them out. Even if they said it, the reality is, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, we would have a hard recession.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we wouldn't. We would have a hard recession. However, we would then have, in my view, 20 years of growth.
Yeah.
This way, by continually bailing out the banks, by continually increasing taxes, cutting public sector, etc., all we're doing is having 20 to 30 years of depression. I am not kidding you.
Okay, hold on one moment. We have a call. Hello, caller, you're on the air.
Hello, good evening. I rang last night as well, but I'm interested in talking about it. It's important.
Hi.
I forgot what I was going to say now. Does Jonathan think that a lot of the employers advising the governments in London and in New York are ex-Goldman Sachs people who have a vested interest in keeping the system going as it stands?
Okay, thank you.
Or is that a fallacy?
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jonathan,
Yes,
Jonathan, what do you think?
I think, well, first of all, to explain the question, perhaps, I think what the lady is alluding to is that Goldman Sachs is the most highly connected investment bank in global banking. For example, the most recent appointment to the UK Monetary Policy Committee is Goldman Sachs. The current Treasury Secretary, like our Chancellor in the United States, was Goldman Sachs. The previous Treasury Secretary was Goldman Sachs. I think I'm right in saying Bank of Italy, the guy, is Goldman Sachs. So that's what she's alluding to.
Yeah, the word monopoly springs to mind, or is that just me?
Indeed, highly connected, and their argument would be, well, if they're the best and the brightest, then they should be in positions of power.
But are they? Are they the best and the brightest?
well, it's certainly a tough application process, that's for sure. I believe they have to go through something like 20 or 30 interviews, seriously, 20 or 30. But the point I would make is, whether it's Goldman Sachs or any of the other global banks like JP Morgan, Barclays, Citibank, etc., they all have the same mindset. And the mindset is, we're bankers, we have to lend. And if we are going to be bailed out by taxpayers in the future, which is what they've been believing for the last 20 years, we're just going to lend as much as we can get away with. Even if ultimately the debtors don't pay it back, we're going to get bailed out. So, whether it's Goldman Sachs or not, global banking, there's a lot of greed, there's a lot of fraud, and these guys have been taking the Michael, and we as a society have been living a high life for years, if not a couple or 3 decades. But then look what happens. Sure. There you are next to Spain, the biggest housing crash in Europe.
Yeah.
And it's happening all over the world. And real people, and we're talking about a very high percentage of the real population, is severely detrimentally affected just because we had a party. Well, now we're having a massive hangover. And that's what people don't realise when you get into all this debt.
Absolutely. Okay, so let me ask you the question. If it wasn't Goldman Sachs, who would it be?
JP Morgan. Because, these are the 2 top players in global banking.
Sure.
They're highly influential. They're highly connected. They can pick up the phone to the likes of David Cameron or Barack Obama, and they'll get through. They run the show. Yeah. Because ultimately, when the banks are making profits, they made vast profits, of course, from, say, through the 90s, through most of the 2000s. When they're making vast profits, governments love them because they pay taxes, or at least the people do, the staff do. They pay taxes, national insurances, and whatever. It allows the government to play around with the tax system generally and buy votes. But the problem is, the banking system, when they're making all these profits, it's illusory.
Sure.
It's based on current year profits, which undoubtedly are based ultimately largely on bad loans,
Jonathan,
which will never be repaid.
Sorry to stop you, but we've got another call. Hold on one moment. Hello, caller, you're on the air.
Hello, it's John Dodd.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. And one has to agree with the chap and the lady. A very good question, because when the man mentioned all that your man is mentioning now, about 2 weeks ago on the World Service at BBC, lots and lots of people got up and said he's a raving lunatic and he doesn't know what he's talking about. But because Goldman Sachs and Morgan, they do run the bloody show, and they're very influential, as your man says.
Thank you very much for your call, John. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's scary to think, as John's quite rightly just illustrated, and Sharon did before, that the people who are in high places are being regarded as, to quote there, nutcases.
They are the ones who are deemed to actually be intelligent and sane, the people who are running the show. I would go so far as to say that some of these guys at the top of these banks are psychopaths, because I'm telling you, there is arrant fraud in the whole system. Subprime mortgages were called AAA rated. Bank of Ireland was AAA rated. These things are not AAA rated. They were junk, absolute junk, but they were sold to councils. They were sold to pension funds by the billion. And the banks knew full well that they were junk, total fraud, and they are deliberately, because of their incessant greed, their psychopathic nature, they are deliberately destroying the system, whilst they have an absolute ball. And I cannot understand for the life of me why the politicians are so lily-livered that they let it happen.
Sure.
It's not a question. We hear. I listened to Nigel Lawson, Chancellor of the UK, 93 to 99, and he made the comment. This was a couple of days ago on the BBC. He made the comment: booms and busts are inevitable. To which I it's rubbish. They're not
inevitable. No, I wouldn't agree with that either.
Properly regulated lending, if you properly regulated the banking system, you wouldn't have the boom in the first place, so you wouldn't have the disastrous bust at the end of it.
Absolutely. Jonathan, we're going to have to go to a quick commercial break and we'll be right back.
Hello, Gilly's World this week has everything from the Solomon Islanders playing panpipes to reggae, or from North American swamp blues to this, Anatolian tales from Turkey. Hopefully something for everybody, so see you on Sunday night at 10 for the extended Starlight edition, or the following siesta Saturday afternoon at 2.
Purchasing cover for your vehicle should not only be about price, because cheap can sometimes turn out to be expensive. Imagine that your car has been in an accident and is going to take a while to get back on the road. So that you can go on with your daily life, you may need to hire a car, and this can amount to a considerable sum if a substitute vehicle hasn't been included in your motor cover. So next time you need to renew your policy, look for a company that's not only offering a great price, but one which also offers other benefits, such as a replacement car following an accident, fire or theft, amongst others. Read the small print in advance and find out exactly what your insurer can offer you before signing on the dotted line. Because taking provisions in advance can save you a few pennies and a lot of trouble if this does ever happen to you.
This information was brought to you by Liberty Seguros, the expat's preferred motor insurer that can provide a replacement car following an accident just 24 hours after your vehicle has been taken to the garage, and after just 72 hours following a fire or theft. Go online to libertyseguros.es/expatriates/en to find the name and number of your nearest broker. Liberty Seguros, because you never know.
It's Suit Week at El Corte Inglés, only through the 9th of October. Suits, shirts, and ties by Emilio Tucci, with 30% off if you take 3 items or more. Only this week, make the most of it. Emilio Tucci, exclusively at El Corte Inglés.
If you're looking for the best apartments, villas and luxury properties on the beautiful Costa del Sol, visit dreamsoverseas.com. With a network of around 500 European real estate agents and mortgage brokers offering every type of resale property, new homes, new developments, bank repossessions and distressed sale bargains. Dreamsoverseas.com is the one-stop answer. So, look at what we have to offer. Visit our website, dreamsoverseas.com, or click on our banner at talkradioeurope.com.
Like a better investment return?
Need to reduce inheritance taxes?
Want to increase your UK pension by minimising the tax due?
Well, these are just some of the areas that we at Black Tower Financial Management can help with.
Regulated by both the FSA and FSC, we've been helping customers in Spain, Portugal, UK and Gibraltar for over 25 years.
We're completely independent. We're not associated with any insurance company or bank, so we listen to what you need and advise on the right product for you.
With our knowledge and expertise, we can save you time, money and bring you peace of mind.
Why not find out more? Phone Black Tower Financial Management on 952 816 443. That's 952 816 443.
Black Tower, your financial freedom.
Black Tower Financial Management is licensed by the Gibraltar Financial Services Commission. License number 00805B.
Tonight with Lisa Grant.
Welcome back, and we're still in conversation with Jonathan Davis. Jonathan, let's paint a little picture, shall we? Imagine you do go with your little placards to the Bank of England and to Parliament and to number 10 Downing Street, and you do shout and scream, and somebody comes out and says, OK, Jonathan, let's hear what you have to say. What's your advice? What would you like us to do? What would you say?
I would have 4 demands. And I'm thinking back to what I wrote to clients a few months ago. I would do 4 things. 1, I would ban bank bailouts. When you consider the absolutely gargantuan amount of money that we've handed these people in recent years, I mean, it's beyond breathtaking. Let me tell you, we've guaranteed or handed to them hundreds of billions of pounds And that's just in the UK alone. And then you compare that with, I don't know, let's say housing benefit is 12 billion. Tax evasion is 7 billion, so it's estimated. Everything pales into insignificance, the amount of money we give these bankers. So one, ban bank bailouts. Secondly, tomorrow the high street banks should be split from the investment banks. I think it's a disgrace that you can go into your branch in Birmingham, deposit £1,000, and immediately it's in the global casino. I mean, A, that's terrible, and B, it's because of that the banks say to governments, well, if you let us go down, the depositors will lose. Actually, I don't actually think that's true. I think that's also a myth, which can easily be challenged. Thirdly, I think we need to cut public spending aggressively. I know there's big talk about huge public sector cuts. Actually, do you know what? We're still spending more than we did last year. We're not doing it properly. When you add up the frontline public sector, the soldiers, the nurses, the doctors, the teachers, the firemen, whatever, the policemen, it comes to about 2 million people in the UK. Well, there's 6.5 or 7 million public sector. What on earth do the other 4 or 5 million do? And finally, I would change taxation from wealth creation being income tax, corporation tax, and capital gains tax, and I'd move it on to property, because property does not create wealth. All it does is sit there. Those are the 4 things that I'd do. In a summary, ban bank bailouts, split high street banks from investment banks, cut public sector spending aggressively, and change the tax system.
Now, you say about you would change the tax system to go on to properties, but some people who are listening, and I'm talking just about everywhere, their property has plummeted in value.
Yeah, it's not going to affect them, is it?
No,
It's already hurt them.
It does sound like a very good plan, quite honestly.
If you reduce taxation on wealth creation, what are you going to do? You're going to get more wealth creators.
Sure.
We're going to move from being an economy which shifts loans around, and estate agents get to drive in fancy cars and whatever, but we're going to move from that to being an economy where people actually make things that other people actually want to buy. I refer you to Germany and China.
Absolutely.
For example.
Absolutely. What do you think the chances are of people actually waking up and starting to do the right thing?
No, I'm afraid the chance is very slim. It didn't happen in the 1930s, and God help us, we know what happened after that. The fact is, we from the Austrian school, for every Austrian economist, there's probably about 99 Keynesian economists. That doesn't make us wrong. It just makes us less taught at university by a major degree. We're not listened to, because ultimately what we're saying is, look, the only way you can get out of this mess is by having a couple of years of great problems. Like 2008. It's the only way you can get out of the mess. Their way is 20 to 30 years of depression. I refer you to Japan. That's what they're doing. We're doing the exact same as Japan, and they're now 22 years in depression and counting. Our way is 2 years or so, maybe 3, of hard recession, followed by 20 years of growth. It's what they did in Russia, in Chile, in Argentina, in Iceland only a couple of years ago. Default on the loans, tell the banks to go away, you shouldn't have made the loans in the first place, and then reboot the system. And that's what we say, but no, it's not going to happen. They're just going to trundle along with economic stagnation for years and years and years, whilst people get poorer and poorer, except for the politicians and the bankers.
Oh, I hope you're wrong. Every day I wake up, quite honestly, and I think to myself, today's got to be a better day. But then you keep seeing these headlines and you realise, no, today isn't a better day. And it's the people in the street, it's the people who have to pay their mortgages, it's the people, as you say, who are trying to put their kids through schools that are being the most effective. Nobody ever seems to listen. And I hope somebody in a high place is listening to this interview and thinking, OK, well, all right, maybe we need to have a rethink, but I think the chances of that are pretty slim.
My way involves strengthening currencies.
Sure.
Currencies are being annihilated. If you strengthen currency, you reduce the cost of imports. You reduce the cost of imports, you reduce the cost of living for the average man and woman in the street. For small businesses, if you reduce the costs, then I'll tell you, you can get the thing going. But what the powers that be prefer, as is patently obvious from the Bank of England today, they prefer inflation. Helps them, believe me, doesn't help us. Helps them, the top 2, 3, 4%, it shafts the rest of us.
Sad, isn't it? Well, Jonathan, as ever, an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very, very much indeed for taking the time to hop on the show again so quickly. I'll keep an eye on the papers and we'll see how it's going to go. And you never know. Somebody influential may have heard this and we may have tipped the balance, but I'm keeping everything crossed. I'm not sure it's going to help. Pleasure to talk to you. Enjoy the rest of your evening and thanks again.
Thank you. One day I'll come with good news.
That would be nice. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
It would be nice, wouldn't it, if he did come on with good news? It absolutely would. Hello, caller, you're on the air.
Yeah, it's John.
Hi.
Just look at program for a new American century. It's planned. The influential people are doing it. Darling.
Seriously?
That's my opinion. Of course.
I hope you are right.
Google it. PS.
I have come across it. Yeah. I have come across it actually, and
or the Georgia guidelines.
Yeah, I have come across it, but to be honest with you, it's so unbelievably complicated that I'm beginning to wonder if it's actually ever going to make a difference. And even if they did actually get it through, would other countries fall in line?
No, this is nothing we can do.
No.
There's a program now on Paradigm Shift TV, Money as Debt.
Yeah.
That's the second one that's on the internet.
Okay.
You know, my son's saying to me, buy gold. Listen to, what's his name? Gerald Celente, I've quoted him before. He said, get a gun, get gold, and get a get out. That's how serious it is. It's not funny, darling.
No. I just find it frightening when I wasn't laughing. It was a nervous reaction to hear somebody say, get a gun and get out. I wasn't laughing because I was not laughing in any way because I thought it was funny. It was a nervous reaction to something as shocking to be said. I understand what he says, yeah.
I think my son said to me the Germans are already printing marks again.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much for your call. I appreciate it.
Cheers.
Seriously, I was not laughing because it was funny, believe me. Hello, caller, you're on the air.
Hello, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
That's all right.
It's actually nothing to do with what you're talking about.
Okay.
I wondered if we could just possibly put out an appeal. I have found a dog, and I've actually got the name of the owner.
Oh, right.
Which is an unusual situation, but we can't find the owner.
Okay.
The owner, it looks like a Great Dane cross. It's quite a large black dog, 9 years old. It's got a chip. We've been to the vet.
Right.
It's called Bolto.
Hang on. Wait. I'm writing this down with a chip, and it's called Bolto.
Bolto, B-A-L-T-O.
Yeah.
And the name of the owner is a Mr. Robert McClure.
Mr. Robert McClure.
C-L-U-R-E.
Sorry, M-C-U-L-R-E. Where are you calling from?
Guadalmina, Baja.
Guadalmina, Baja. Okay.
Baja, yes, the Guadalmina beach side.
Okay. All right, Richard. If you happen to be listening at the moment, they've got your dog. Please ring the studio and perhaps can I have your? Tell you what, I'm going to put you on hold for a second. We're heading our way to the news. I'll take your phone number, but I'll take it off air.
Thank you very much.
All right, but please do hold on, okay?
Yes.
Okay, so Richard McCall, if you are looking for your Great Dane cross, and it does have a chip, it's actually been found in Guadalmina Baja on the Costa del Sol. So please do ring in on 951 036 026. I'm going to take the number from that lady. She's just hanging on at the moment because we're heading our way to the news. Big thank you to Jonathan for his interview. I hope you found it useful. And thank you to everyone who rang in and contributed. We're on our way to the news.
On Talk Radio Europe, your voice in Spain. Brought to you by Bank Gibraltar. The international news on the hour.
7. The Governor of the Bank of England says the UK is facing the most serious financial crisis ever seen. Sir Mervyn King was speaking after the bank decided to pump £75 billion into the economy to try to stimulate growth. Meanwhile, the base rate of interest is being kept on hold. Simon Rose from Save Our Savers says the low rates are producing little or no return for him.
We've had record low interest rates of 0.5% for nearly 3 years now. Has it produced growth in the economy? No, it hasn't. What it's done, because inflation is outstripping interest rates, is depressed people. It's stopped people spending.
Wayne Rooney's dad is vigorously denying allegations against him after being arrested over an alleged football betting scam. Wayne Rooney Sr. was one of 9 men detained in relation to suspicious betting patterns